What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Filip Latocha, and today we're going to be talking about my Houston Hot Chocolate 15K race recap. The good, the bad, the ugly, you know how this kind of goes already. So before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're already subscribed to the channel, watching the content, thanks so much. Love you guys a lot. Don't forget to follow me on Strava, Instagram, the social medias. You should be able to find it. Links in the description below. That's another piece to add. So let's get into it. Hot Chocolate 15K, first race since I was 100% cleared from injury. And for those who have been following either the channel or, you know, my social medias, you'll basically know I took third place overall in the 15K race, which was kind of a surprise to me. But also based on certain things, I kind of suspected I would do okay. But again, we're just going to kind of get into it as we go along. But that's like kind of the general summaries. There's an overall podium placement here for the race. I'm going to kind of just talk about a little bit of the things that led up to the race in addition to, you know, race day feelings and strategies and all that. So yeah, basically the race was on Saturday morning, but I flew into Houston with my brother around like Wednesday afternoon, mostly because it was like the best time for me to just take my flight. So basically Thursday and Friday, it was just kind of a mix of, you know, just relaxing, checking out things in Houston, tasting all the Tex-Mex food because it was pretty awesome. Heard great stuff, and the food did not disappoint whatsoever. Man, I'm like loathing. I'm trying to get some more Tex-Mex in my diet now. It was amazing, but I digress. You know, we went to like the Houston Space Center. We saw some other things, and yeah, I did a few shakeout runs before. We went to a powerlifting gym, and we were having pretty serious powerlifting workouts where I would leave the gym and like my thighs would be burning, you know, quick twitch stuff. And yeah, it was very interesting. I was thinking it was going to not pan out very well for race day because I was afraid of like some exhaustion and like some muscle soreness and like things like that. But it turns out it was okay. And we're going to get into this also as well because like my focus for those days was mostly in the thighs and like glute work and like a bit of core. Very minimal upper body. It wasn't too crazy there, but again, it was just really fun. And like the gym we went to out there was called Deviant Strength. Definitely recommend it if you're like in the eastern Houston area. And yeah, they were super cool, super chill. Everyone there seemed pretty normal. It was just really funny because like somebody called me out there like a triathlete working out at a powerlifting gym. That's what's up. And I'm just like, yeah, you know, like the hole in the wall places are like some of the coolest places I've ever worked out in. So, you know, I don't need like a fancy triathlete or running specific gym to get my thing done, you know, so whatever. Let's get into race day itself. So I'm feeling pretty good. It's not as cold as I thought it was going to be, but it's still pretty chilly. But I know that once I start moving and I've got gloves on, it's going to be perfectly fine. It's like a Houston 40 degrees outside. So basically, I don't really like understand the temperature and the humidity in Houston, so I'm just kind of playing it safe. So I have like the gloves. I don't have any long sleeves or anything like that. The race, you know, the gun goes off and we're just already sending it. And the guy who ultimately won first place, I believe he was from Venezuela. Like, he took off like a rocket, you know what I mean? He was like good. He was handling like a 5:30 pace. And I was kind of hanging with him for a little while, and I felt my calves starting to burn. And like maybe about a mile into running with him, I mentally told myself, like, listen, if I'm going to continue like this for the next 8 miles, like, I'm going to have calf cramps. It's not going to end well. It's better if I just lay off and just kind of, you know, see what happens, because this guy is going hard. He's wearing a pair of Alpha Flies. I'm in a Vaporfly Next% 2 by choice. And my thought process here is, if we're running this course and it's got a lot of hills, and he's running in an Alpha Fly, he's not going to have nearly as good of a time, like, not time-wise, but he's just not going to feel too great on the hills compared to me, who's going to be running in this more, like, you know, less bounce, more carbon plate, you know, decompression kind of stuff on the hills. So that was the thought process while also wearing the shoe for this specific race. We'll get into that a little bit later as to why I chose the Vaporfly Next% 2 over the Alpha Fly in a different video. That's going to be part of a shoe review thing. So anyways, after about a mile and a half into the race, what happens is the group is kind of fractured. The guy in front is already kind of just running his own thing. And I'm in second place, just holding it I'm holding it down as best as I can there. And now at this point in time, a friend of mine who I met after the Houston race and kind of during the race named Darius, we ran together for the majority of the race. And basically, you know, I knew that if I was going to be in no man's land in second place, it was just going to be a terrible time overall, and I was going to lose time and whatnot. So it was better for me to kind of just like lean back a little bit and have him kind of like switch off with me. And we were effectively pacing each other during the entire run, which was awesome because, you know, it just kind of psychologically reduces the stress of having to hold second place. And now, you know, you're bouncing between second and third. There's a few people that maybe from behind us will catch up. Maybe we'll have a nice pack. And like, as long as I'm mentally kind of relaxed, it's not a big deal that, like, you know, physically we're working 6:10, 6:20 pace and whatnot. So, yeah, very cool that we were doing that. And I think at some point, like mile 4, mile 5, the second place finisher overall passed us up because he was just, you know, doing his own thing. Good for him. He was just plowing along. And I wasn't going to keep up with him. I tried it for just about a second, but, you know, he was kind of doing his own thing. We figured that maybe he would fall back a little bit, but by the end of the race, you know, he had done his own race. He was mentally in the zone. There was no way that we were going to stop him, right? So by about the 10K to 7 mile mark, I see Darius is kind of falling back a little bit. So this is kind of where I start thinking, okay, I may still have a chance to hold third place for this race, but I got to start, you know, initiating some tactics here. So, of course, one of the common tactics I've seen from previous marathoners is, you know, once you kind of break the distance a little bit, try to do some like sprint intervals, more or less. So, you know, I kind of maybe for a minute try to go a little bit harder than usual and basically try to start creating a gap and then start, you know, psychologically breaking the pack that was behind us, because now there's a couple other runners catching up to us because we're effectively slowing down, despite the course having a positive split effect where we're running to the top of a hill on one side of Houston and we're running back the same way on the other loop. So at this point in time, I figured if I'm going to be like holding third place, I need to start making a big gap. I need to start, you know, doing these sprint intervals. I need to start swerving on the course. So if people are trying to follow me in a line, I'm creating more distance for them to run in, you know, during the race. And it's really realistically just causing more havoc than it is like efficiency for them. Because if I know the course layout and I'm able to kind of, you know, start swerving just a little bit here and there, I know like effectively what I can handle when I start doing something like that, because it's not that it's not putting any pressure on me. It really is to be able to add more distance for myself, but I don't know how my competitors are going to respond to that. So if I start swerving and they're following the straight line, cool. Then what I need to do is start sprinting from the outside so I create that gap, and it becomes realistically not like a power creep, but it becomes more of a distance gap creep because, you know, they're following this straight line, but they don't see me from a distance, starting to create more as they start going back into the path, because then they see like, oh, I was 3 seconds down. Now that he was out there and he did this thing and he came back into the line, I'm 7 seconds down. So that was kind of the strategy towards the second half of the race. So now I'm at about mile 7.5, and we have like the last final hill that we have to climb. And at this point, like, the dark voice in my head starts, you know, kind of talking to me, and it says, you know, as I'm climbing this hill, it goes, listen, do you really need third place right now? Like, is third place really worth it for you? You could just stop here and the race could be just effectively done. And I'm thinking to myself also like, well, no, because I'm going to take third place. I'm going to fight for it because, again, this is Houston, Texas, baby. I'm from Chicago and I'm trying to, you know, win some domestic titles. And 2, I remember how much I wanted to run when I had this fractured fibula the last 2 months, 3 months ago, I guess, to this point in time, and how much I just wanted to race and just have the best possible race of that day. And this was that moment where, like, I was pain-free, the run is going smoothly. It was not the perfect race, but I'm in a position where it can be the best possible race. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, someone behind me is going to creep up to me at some point to try to take third place. But I've got the fuel and I've got the kick right now to actually start being very flexible during this run. Because a lot of times during my runs, I'll just go out hard and then I'm just holding on for dear life and that's it. There's no like sprint here and there. It's just I'm going, and it's just gradually, you know, getting slower and slower because I'm just holding on for dear life. What I'm noticing here in Houston, and maybe this is because of the downhills on the net, on the positive split here, but I'm able to start surging more frequently, and I don't ever recall being able to surge this often. And it might be as a consequence of when I do my treadmill work to have a faster turnover. So I almost train myself when maybe my turnover when I'm racing is like 160. Maybe I could bring it up to like 170 or 175, and as a result of that, it's a little bit less comfortable for me to be having a faster turnover. But what's happening is I'm able to go a little bit faster for that period of time when the turnover is kind of initiated. So this is something I'm noticing towards the end of the races. I'm starting to like do more frequent surges to kind of break away from the pack. And I'm looking back more frequently because I want to see how far back Darius is from me. And what happens after the 9-mile mark, and we've got that last 0.3 to go, this is where things got really crazy, and you'll probably see it in the video. Like, I start just yelling and whatnot. But I can't see the finish line because there's a glare from, I believe it's the east side, if that's correct, and we're running into like this underpass, and I see there's like a crowd of people like on both sides of this road, but I don't know whether I'm supposed to turn like left in some direction or it's underneath this underpass that we're supposed to go. I can't see it, and like I'm freaking out. I'm like, dang it, like where do I go? So I start yelling. I'm like, where do we go? Where do we go? And like this lady points like, it's this way, like just keep going. I'm like, okay, cool, we're just gonna keep going this way. And what happens is I see my brother with my phone because, you know, I recognize the Colorado phone case. I'm like, okay, that's him. Cool, I see him. That means we're probably going in the right direction. And then I look back, and now Darius is no longer, you know, that 4 or 5 seconds behind me. There is somebody else who's about 2 seconds behind me, and I'm thinking, okay, this guy just creeped up to me. I gotta start pushing it right now. And I had the perfect amount of kick towards the last maybe 0.05 miles there to put in the sprint and lock in third place. And obviously at the end of the race, you know, I'm like coughing. I feel like I'm going to puke again because I just dropped like a massive surge just to the finish line. And, you know, I like literally cry for like 3 seconds. That's as quick as it was. I'm laying on the ground and I'm like crying, and I'm thinking like, holy crap. I had a broken leg in November or like end of October. Like, I finished the Chicago Marathon Series with extreme pain. I tried powering through this pain to train for a turkey trot and the fall season and all these massive races I was going to have. And what happened was, you know, I pushed it to the limit and I couldn't run effectively for like 3-4 weeks because of this broken leg. And at that moment I realized, like, I did it. Like, I took third place during this race after the trials and tribulations of dealing with my broken leg. And, you know, I walked away with this. I walked away with the bronze. And it's funny because I think about this sometimes, the hilarious study that they bring up where the happiest person on the podium is third place, because first place is usually, okay, he won the race, but they're thinking, man, I could have just done so much better, and then like the gold would feel, you know, better to me. And I know this because like when I did the River Grove 5K last year and I won the that race and the one race I did in Florida, the 4-miler at that time, the Graybeard 4-mile race, I didn't feel as satisfied winning those races as I did, like, you know, thinking to myself, man, I could have done so much better that day. Okay, whatever. I'm digressing here a little bit. Let me get back to this. Silver medal is obviously the person who goes, oh man, if I tried just a little bit harder, I would have gotten the gold. And then bronze, me, the guy with, you know, 9,000 IQ goes, hey, I got on the podium. I'm the last possible guy to get on it. Let's go. So, you know, there's no love lost. The guy who took first place was 4 minutes ahead of me. The guy who took second, I believe, was like maybe 2 or a minute and a half. And they just both had the best days for their running, you know, super awesome guys. Kind of had like a small moment to like chat with first place afterwards. And yeah, no, I earned it. That's all I can say, right? There was a huge pack of guys towards the end with me there, but at the end of the day, I had just enough mental fortitude and just enough fuel in the tank to give that final kick and secure third place and take a podium on a much longer distance race than I'm used to. So obviously I've got this 15K in the book. I'm super happy with it. Houston is just a beautiful place to run. It was just a great city. And yeah, this is kind of just, I don't know. When I hear other people's like stories of, you know, returning and like winning it big, it's a lot more emotional. And maybe just because it's like, you know, it's just me. It's like, okay, cool. I broke my leg in October. you know, there was this rehab, there was a story of like redemption, and the redemption arc is that I win third place. And I'm like, I took third place. I knew I could do this. And part of it is because 2 weeks prior to the actual race, I did a treadmill simulation of this run with like similar attire, similar shoes. Actually, I used the exact same shoes. And I had pretty much a almost similar finish time to what I did on race day, except on the treadmill, I think I finished in like sub 59 minutes perhaps. And on race day, I finished 58:40, probably because of the surging that was happening. And maybe, you know, there's hills and things like that. And I maybe started faster at some points. A lot of other factors than just running on a treadmill that's like at, you know, 1 degree incline for, you know, about an hour. So that's kind of, I guess, where I want to end this recap realistically. Actually, no, I got one more thing. The post-race effects. This has also never happened to me before. Usually after a race, my entire lower body is wrecked. It'd be the hips, glutes, hamstrings, calves, everything is wrecked. This was the first time that neither my quads, knees, hamstrings, or glutes were ever sore after the race. And the only thing that was sore for like 3 days that prevented me from walking straight and normally was my calves. This has never happened before, and I think I want to thank the powerlifting gym system for ultimately kind of giving my quick twitch muscles preparation before the race, considering I didn't really train my calves when I was at that gym back, you know, on the east side of Houston. And I guess the last thing we can discuss is final thoughts. So, I mean, realistically, I just want to say thanks, I guess, to Emotive. They're the guys I think run the whole hot chocolate race system, you know, for being super flexible and letting me change my Chicago race day time to Houston. Obviously, that was a huge, you know, thank you for being able to do that, and it was a great experience, and I'm glad I did it, regardless of, like, whether I was going to race in Chicago or not. I think racing in a different city adds a lot more interest and a lot more stakes to, you know, your race if you're trying to do it competitively. And I think racing in Houston definitely put a lot more, like, you know, I had to ante up a little bit more, so I was very happy about that. What else? Man, I mean, you know, obviously my brother came out, that was fun. I'm glad he enjoyed it. We did some cool stuff there. I think the only regret we have is that we didn't stay longer, which is like what everyone says whenever they go somewhere on vacation. But, you know, I just wanted to go in, race, get out, and that was kind of what we did. We didn't really stay all that long. I think the only thing I guess I should bring up is what are the plans moving forward in terms of racing. And yeah, I have plenty of races on the radar right now. I can think of 4 of them immediately, but like one is kind of farther out than the rest. I know that the Shamrock Shuffle in Chicago is on March 20th. That's going to be like the 8K that I'm going to race out there. So if I can do a 15K, all I got to do is train very similarly for that race, but add more speed workouts. So that's going to be cool. I've got the Cooper Bridge 10K in Charleston, South Carolina. There's a long story behind why I'm doing this, but that's on my radar right now. I'm signed up. It's just a case of getting that entire vacation booked and just go out there. Kind of in a similar way where it's like get in, race, leave, you know, etc. But I will be racing in Charleston, South Carolina, and this is apparently a pretty popular run, so I'm very curious to see how that's going to go. And I'm also signed up for the Bank of America Chicago 13.1, which is, I guess, like the rock and roll half marathon replacement race in Chicago, because this is like a build-up race for the Chicago Marathon, and it's in that same branch of Bank of America series races, or I think it's Bank of America who's running this one. I don't think it's the other company that runs them. I forget the name of them. It's something with an A. It's going to come back to me, and I'm going to be really angry after this video when I know who it is. But yeah, so that's kind of the scoop right now in terms of next upcoming races. And of course, Ironman Wisconsin 70.3 is the big one on my radar. I still don't have a marathon that I'm signed up for. Chicago is still on my radar as the marathon, but I would have to run as a charity runner. That's just something I'm going to have to like plan moving forward. But if there's a marathon in a different state, I may consider that as well. I just don't know what my time frame for that would necessarily be. Grandma's Marathon in Duluth, Minnesota has been on my radar, and I know it's a, you know, Boston qualifying legal race, and I'm thinking about it. Still plenty of time to deliberate, but why would I not do a marathon this year, right? Like, who doesn't not do a marathon if you run? So, big brain move. I'm sure there's people who will, like, rip me in the comments of, like, I don't run marathons. I'm, like, a short distance runner. I'll be like, Jesus, okay. Like, this statement came out wrong. So, anyways, yeah, as you can see, bronze medal swag. That's kind of there. Hot chocolate 15K finisher medal. Nice and big and shiny and always looks like, you know, hot chocolate and marshmallows. Love the theme of the race. It's kind of just fun like that. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Not a whole lot of time to party, even though I believe the rule is you're supposed to party. You know, whatever. I'm just happy to be able to run and to be able to train right now. That's enough of a party for me. So I think I'm going to end the video here, and then we'll just stay tuned for updates on, you know, the next race travel vlogs and things like that. And of course, as the shoe reviews start coming out and I'm not as busy with like work stuff as I was this week, you'll see more content coming out. So yeah, send me your feedback in the comments below if you were at the race. You know, just sound off, tell me how you did, whether you were running the 5K or the 15K. And yeah, I'm glad you guys stuck around for this video, and I appreciate you guys, you know, just listening to me rant for what's gonna be like 20 plus minutes now. But you know, I enjoy this. I enjoy kind of giving my feedback on these kinds of things. I enjoy racing and like running overall, as you're gonna probably tell. So I will end the video here. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.